Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is your host Ben on the Lover of Tech channel. Now I've got another camera comparison for you guys to see, and this is between the Pixel 2 and the iPhone 10. So starting with the front facing camera, the Pixel 2 has an 8 megapixel front facing camera with an f2.4 aperture lens, 1.4 micron pixel size with a fixed focus, and also records video in 1080p 30 frames a second. And the iPhone 10 has a 7 megapixel true depth eyesight sensor, and that also has an f2.2 aperture lens and also records video in 1080p 30 frames a second. So what we're doing now is just testing out the stabilization and the image quality from the videos on a front facing camera. So this is the 4K 30 frames a second video shooting mode between the Pixel 2 and the iPhone 10. And again, we're just testing out to see the image quality and also the stabilization. As you know, the iPhone has dual OIS in both lenses, and the second lens has a telephoto zoom lens. So what we're going to do, we're going to stop on the times 2 zoom, and see the image quality and the stabilization now. So this is the 4K 30 frames a second shooting mode on the Pixel 2 and iPhone 10. We're going to test the OIS by running. So this is the 1080p 30 frames a second video shooting mode between the Pixel 2 and the iPhone 10. And again, we're just checking the image quality and the stabilization between the two. So this is the 4K 30 frames a second video recording mode on the Pixel 2 and the iPhone 10. Now the great thing about the iPhone 10 is 4K shooting mode has no restriction of 10 minutes. It's unlimited recording to storage. And also the iPhone has a telephoto zoom lens. So what we're going to do is stop, times 2 zoom, and we're going to see the stabilization and the image quality from both phones. So this is the low light performance with the iPhone 10 recording in 4K 60 frames a second and the Google Pixel 2 at 4K 30 frames a second. Now the great thing about the iPhone with the 4K 60 frames a second, it is again unlimited recording to storage. So we're just seeing how the image quality in low light as well as the stabilization is in between both phones. So this is the 1080p 30 frames a second video recording mode between the Pixel 2 and the iPhone 10. Just tested out the image quality and the stabilization as well as the sound quality as well to see which one looks best. And what we're going to do is stop. I'm going to times 2 zoom, and times 2 zoom, and see the image quality and the stabilization. So this is me testing the front-facing selfie video recording mode between the Pixel 2 and the iPhone 10, where both cameras are recording in 1080p 30 frames a second. So again, we're just seeing how the image quality is in low light as well as the stabilization. Looking at it, both look to be very comparable, but again, would have to wait and test and see. So let's run through the main specifications of both these rear cameras for the iPhone 10 and the Pixel 2. The Google Pixel 2 has a 12.2 megapixel camera with an f1.8 aperture lens, 1.4 micron pixel size, optical image stabilization with electronic image stabilization with Google's Fuji stabilization for video, and also dual pixel autofocus. And the iPhone 10 has a dual 12 megapixel rear camera with the main wide angle camera with an f1.8 aperture lens, optical image stabilization, and also face detection autofocus. And the second 12 megapixel camera is a ×2 telephoto lens which has an f2.4 aperture with optical image stabilization and hybrid autofocus. The iPhone 10 is able to record 4K 60 frames a second video on limited recording to storage, whereas the Google Pixel 2 is only capable of recording 4K to 30 frames a second. Now everything on both these cameras has been set to automatic, nothing has been changed, so let's skip right to the pictures. Now with this first image, in my opinion, I think both these phones are struggling in low light. There is more of a crop factor on the iPhone 10, so I find it less usable. The Pixel 2 is doing a better job in terms of more detail, especially around the hoodie and around the face, but both are struggling and there's noise. It's going to be down to personal preference, but definitely this one, I'll give it to the Pixel 2, but both of them are struggling in low light. Now with the front facing flash on both these cameras, there is a warmer color temperature with the iPhone 10 compared to a much more cooler color temperature on the Pixel 2, but there is a night and day difference in terms of detail and sharpness. The Pixel 2 pretty much just walks away with this with the flash illumination on both the front facing camera. I prefer what the Pixel is doing here. It's much sharper, there's more detail, whereas the iPhone 10, it's so much more softer, and the crop factor as well makes it less usable. Next shot with this Europe card sign in the standard viewing mode, you can see that there is a warmer color temperature on the iPhone 10 again, whereas there's a slightly cooler color temperature on the Pixel 2. But when it comes to the Europe card sign, especially the yellow underlined underneath the sign, it is a lot more vibrant on the Pixel 2, but not just more vibrant, but also more color accurate, whereas on the iPhone 10, the colors are a lot more dull and it's a lot more muted, going for much more like a flatter color profile. To my eyes, I definitely prefer what I'm seeing on the Pixel 2, but again, it is down to personal preference. Now in this next photo, using the x2 telephoto zoom lens with optical image stabilization on the iPhone 10, compared to x2 digital zoom on the Pixel 2, for whatever reason, the Pixel 2 is pulling out a much sharper image and a much more vibrant yellow, and also the color temperature being cooler as well, compared to a warmer and much more flat color profile on the iPhone 10. To my eyes, again, I'm definitely liking what is being produced on the Pixel 2, but again, let me know in the comments which one you prefer. Again, this might just be down to personal preference, but I'm liking what I'm seeing on the Pixel 2. So this next shot is a toss up between the two, and these are the reasons why. The Pixel 2 is producing more image noise and grain, so it's been able to not have a much clearer shot, but actually the rendition of the yellow underline beneath the Europe card sign is much more accurate, and you can see it compared to what you're seeing on the iPhone 10. But the iPhone 10 has a much cleaner image, even though that the yellow underneath is not being represented properly on the sign, so it's really down to personal preference. I'm actually liking the cleaner image on the iPhone 10, but I do like the accurate color rendition on the Europe card sign for the Pixel 2. And with the x2 zoom mode on each cameras, this is where the iPhone 10 completely walks away with it. It has a much cleaner image. It's been really able to recover and represent the yellow properly with the Europe card sign as well. It has a much cleaner image, and I definitely prefer what I'm seeing with the iPhone 10 on this shot. This next image of the cabinet, both these pictures are showing that both these phones are slightly struggling in low light. The yellow hue over the Pixel 2 was really not what was happening at night, so I would say that the iPhone 10 has a better image and a cleaner image look, but it is sharp on the Pixel 2. This is down to personal preference. I prefer what I'm seeing on the iPhone 10, even though you can visibly see more on the Pixel 2. With the support for slow sync flash on the iPhone 10, I think that with the illumination on both these images, it's got a really balanced and nice even one. On the Pixel 2, the light brightness on there is very sharp, so you are seeing more, but actually on the iPhone 10, it's a lot more balanced with the flash. Again, this is down to personal preference, so let me know in the comment section below which one is your favorite. So with the first daylight shot, I couldn't really tell much of a difference with both these pictures between both these cameras initially, but when you look closer around the facial details, you can see that there is more sharpness and detail on the Pixel 2 with the statue, and there's only a very slight difference that you can see in terms of the detail, but both are pretty much even. Let me know in the comment section below which one is your favorite. Again, this is also down to personal preference, but I am seeing a bit more detail on the statue face on the Pixel 2. And with the x2 zoom mode on both these cameras, you can see the color temperature differences is slightly warmer on the iPhone 10 compared to a cooler color temperature on the Google Pixel 2, but the details are pretty much the same. Again, this is really just down to personal preference. This next shot, you can see that the iPhone 10 has gone for a much more neutral, flat color profile in terms of the look of the image of the yellow object, whereas the Pixel 2 is really punched out the colors. You're seeing a lot more vibrancy with the object that you can see. And again, this is going to be down to personal preference. You can see more punchy green in the grass, whereas a much more neutral, flatter one to the iPhone 10. Let me know which one you prefer. Now with the front facing selfie portrait mode on both these cameras, they seem to be holding up really well, which is impressive in terms of being able to get that shallow depth of field effect. But actually when it comes to the edge detection on the iPhone 10, you can see that it's really soft, and the pixel's not perfect by any means, but it really is doing a much better job of being able to cut out my face and really separate it from the background. It's really sharp, and the detail on it is really good, whereas the iPhone 10 is struggling with areas like my ears and around the edges to my head. It is a little bit softer than preferred. I really do like what the Pixel 2 is doing, and again, their AI with their juju is really coming through with their witchcraft AI. Well done Google with the Pixel 2 selfie. And following up with another indoor selfie portrait mode, you can really see that the color temperature on the Google Pixel 2 is a lot cooler and sharper. In some cases the Pixel 2 can have an over sharpening effect, but I actually do prefer this over what I'm seeing on the iPhone 10. The iPhone 10 does have a much natural color and accurate color representation of what you can see, but the problem I have with it is that it does overexpose in terms of the highlights. If you can see around my jumper and the surroundings, you can see that it has overexposed a bit. I really do prefer the selfie portrait mode and the selfie camera in general on the Pixel 2. So this shot is portrait mode with the main rear cameras, and this one the iPhone 10 completely walks away with it. As you can see with the edge detection with the Google Pixel 2 on my head, it really struggles. There's less depth of field background blur on the left side of the image. The iPhone is natural, it really gets it right. The edge detection is perfect. This one shows the struggle of having a single lens, even though it's using a split pixel technology in the Google Pixel 2. The iPhone 10 is really walking away with it with the dual camera lens. And also with the iPhone 10, you have the ability of having different portrait studio lighting modes, where you've got the studio light, the contour lighting, which work really well and decent enough, but where it can be a bit of a hit and miss with the stage light and the stage mono, where it is in beta and it really sometimes does struggle in terms of being able to get the edge detection correct. And it's the same for the front facing camera. To Apple's defense, as they said, it is in beta. We hope it does get better over time, but it really does struggle with the stage mono lighting and the stage lighting effects when it comes to the different portrait modes. So what's my overall conclusion to this camera test between these two phones? Definitely still being one of the things I can say, the Google Pixel 2 has the best front facing camera in my opinion on any smartphone that I've used. The edge detection and the background depth of field portrait mode on there is absolutely phenomenal, and that's one thing that I can really give credit to Google for. The versatility that you get with the iPhone 10 camera with the dual optical image stabilization and all the different video shooting frame rates in 24 frames, 30 frames and 60 frames a second, unlimited recording to storage is an industry standard first, and that is something that makes this a video shooting beast, and it's one thing I really like about the iPhone 10. And also Google's use of fused image stabilization with OIS and EIS working in tandem with each other is one thing that really makes for smooth image stabilization in video, and that's one thing that's really good as well. Both these cameras hold their own, and it's really down to personal preference from what you want from your phone when you're using it for photography and video. Consider subscribing and also hit that notification bell so you're part of Team TLS, the Tech Lover Squad, so you can see all the latest stuff that is posted on the Lover of Tech channel. And again, I'm your host Ben. I'm signing out, and trust me, you will see me next time.